Welcome, movie fans. Thanks for joining us for episode 115 of Reading Between the Reels, the premier podcast of studio-mandated symbiotes. If you're a new listener, we're so glad you found us. If you've been enjoying the show, please like, follow, and subscribe, and review us on iTunes or Spotify. You can also support the show by posting on your socials and by joining our Facebook group. I'm Craig Dickinson, and I'm joined by Corey Heichman, who's back.
I'm back!
Yes. What's up, fellas?
Hello.
I'm like Tobey Maguire. I'm back because it's a cash grab.
Wait, checks in the mail, Corey.
Yeah, you didn't. Craig's not paying you?
What?
Listen, that's why I was on strike for like 2 months, man. I was on strike.
I got to negotiate
Doubled my
that contract.
salary.
Got it.
So in the interim, Corey, since you've been gone, what are some of the things that you've been watching? What are some of the movies and TV shows you've been watching?
Oh my gosh. Listen, all right, I'm just going to sum it up. I watched Paradise on Hulu. I am a fan of that show. It was a great apocalyptic show. So if anybody's watching that, I think I could do a podcast just on that show. The music alone in there is 80s music, all rewritten today with some new twists on it. Fantastic. Might be better than the originals. And then I'm just going to say one movie that I watched was this movie called Time Loop. It is a B movie. Now, a guilty pleasure of mine. I love watching like these low budget Amazon time travel movies. Okay, this is a thing that I do. And like Sound of Thunder, I love that movie.
Trash.
Okay? No, it's a beautiful story, Craig. And
so
stick
cheap,
with
though.
me here. They Live, beautiful story, okay? And then this Time Loop one, it was a fantastic story. I was watching part of it, and then I was like, oh, I'm hooked. Went back, watched the whole movie, and I was like, this is a good story. It's a good tale. It ends kind of cheesy, but it's not bad. I like it. So there you go.
All right. Justin?
So I finished season 1 of Severance, and I was in a little bit of a show hole after that. So I just chose something random on Netflix, and it was 0 Day with Robert De Niro. It's a little miniseries. It's been all right. It's been all right so far. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it kind of feels like if Jack Bauer was geriatric and like had to save the world a little bit. But it's good. It's got like an interesting take and twist on it. It's fine. I just don't know what else to watch right now.
I've been I've been continuing my Gene Hackman binge, and I rewatched The French Connection, which I'd only seen once. I watched that a few years back, and freaking great if you haven't seen that. And from 71, I think. And there's a second one, French Connection 2, which is on Prime right now as of this recording. And I had not seen that, and it's not as good as the first one, but it wraps up some of the loose ends, so that was kind of fun. I mean, that's a fish out of water thing too, because like that's Gene Hackman's character, Popeye Doyle, goes to France to kind of track down the main bad guy, and he doesn't speak the language and doesn't care, which is kind of fun. I watched that, and then I hadn't seen Hoosiers in forever, and just watched that too, and that's such a good movie. Like,
Do they still hold up?
Okay, here's the thing with Hoosiers. And I went and looked back, and Jerry Goldsmith, who's a very famous composer, done a lot of great work that all we've seen tons of movies that he's done stuff for. Oscar-nominated score, and I thought it was the worst part of the film. Because it's like 1986, and it's like orchestral, but also like some synth stuff mixed in, which dates the movie. The movie itself is not dated at all. The performances are great. The story's great. But the music, which at the time received critical acclaim, I was like, this just pulled me out.
Everything.
Man, the synth is coming back though.
But it's like it's 1950s Indiana. Like it doesn't.
That doesn't fit.
Yeah, it's anachronistic. Which I mean, orchestral music and like Robin Hood or whatever is anachronistic too. It's like we just go with it. Like and same thing with like Star Wars or whatever.
That was a good word, Craig.
English major.
I like that.
Anywho, so this week though, we're not talking about those things. What are we talking about, Justin?
We're talking about Spider-Man 3. The Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man 3.
Can Justin say his premiere podcast submission?
No, I don't think that is appropriate.
No, it's definitely not. Suffice it to say, this movie is overstuffed.
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Yes, it's
Like a
very
cheese stick.
overstuffed.
So
No, you want your cheese sticks overstuffed.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
You don't want
that's
Spider-Man 3 overstuffed?
No. Like, if Spider-Man 3 was a cheese stick, I would really like it, but as a movie, not so much.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to look
What's
at
that Einstein quote? Like, if you judge a fish by its ability to fly, or, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe Spider-Man 3 was just meant to be a cheese stick. Maybe that's the problem.
It was meant to.
I will say this in its defense. I mentioned this to you guys. I texted you about this before I watched it. There is an editor's cut of this that is actually 2 minutes shorter. And I thought it was better. It moved some things around. And like that really awkward scene where the butler comes in and he's like, "Oh yeah, no, he didn't really kill your dad." That's not in there.
Yes.
And it's such a
Craig,
horrible scene.
you're stealing my thunder.
Yeah, did you watch that one too?
Yes.
All right, well tell me about it.
I don't think
Tell us
cutting
about
2 minutes is going to save this film.
Yeah, but it's moving things around so it just fits better. Yeah,
Listen.
it's not just chopping 2 minutes. So
All right.
go ahead, Corey.
Listen,
Overall.
I like the editor's cut better than the other cut, the theatrical version. I got to admit, when you had Spider-Man 3 and I was like, this is my comeback episode, and I was thinking, oh, Spider-Man 3, it's such an investment. But I got to admit, I watched the editor's cut, and the editor's cut was not bad for me. I think they do more with Flint's story. He does that little sandcastle thing. That was not in the original version, where he kind of has that moment with his daughter. His whole point coming home as a criminal is more extended, right? So we get a little bit more in-depth story of who he is, so that his speech at the end about, "I'm not a bad man, I've just had bad luck." That is just, it was powerful. So I kind of liked it more. Now, I will say this. The part about this movie that just drags me down is that time has no value here. Like everybody just goes on pause while there's a whole side story over here. And I'm like, wait, okay, did we just fast forward a week and a half, 2 weeks? What? Like all of a sudden there's Spider-Man pictures in the black suit all over the news bugle, right? That Peter Parker's taking. And I'm like, wait, has he been fighting crime for a month with this suit? And then we come back. Okay, now we go back and let's get back to Eddie Brock, or let's get back to the Sandman, or let's get back to Mary Jane. Like there's no gaps of time, and it throws me off.
It's like, how long has he been fighting crime in that black suit? Has it been a week, a month? But to the viewer, it's been 10 minutes, and it doesn't seem like any time has passed. Yeah. That always throws me for a loop. That drives me nuts. Man, this movie, like, I guess overall thoughts about it, like, okay, so let me just set this up. Let me tell you where this is at in my life. Growing up as a kid, I love Spider-Man, like as most children do. But it was my identity. I was the Spider-Man guy. I think I shared this in another podcast. I would constantly run at walls and jump at them and like think that I could stick to them. Like I was positive at some point my powers were going to kick in. Never did happen. But I loved Spider-Man 1 and 2 so much. And then Spider-Man 3 came out in 2007, and I knew it was coming out. And okay, I'm going to a little background, I guess, a little more background. In 2007, I was set to go serve a mission for my church. Mm-hmm. And in my church, when you go serve a mission, it's 2 years, no media. You don't get to watch movies or anything like that. So I actually delayed my mission to see this movie. That is a
Jesus,
true story.
You can wait. I got Spider-Man over here coming up.
That's how excited I was. So you can imagine the disappointment of like, I put my life on hold for this movie. Like I came out of that theater, I was like, what have I done? So that being said, I held a grudge against this movie for a long time, but I think it has aged incredibly well. Like it's not as bad as it was when it first came out, and I think memes have a lot to do with that.
Yes.
Because the movie has been mocked endlessly.
Gosh. That's one of the things I want to bring up. Anyway, go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the cringy bad parts are still cringy and bad, but now instead of going like, oh, why didn't why didn't they like take that more seriously? It's now just like, oh, that's actually pretty funny. Like the whole montage of Peter Parker just being a bad guy, turning bad. At first that was cringy and terrible, and why would you do that? But now I think back and I'm like, no, Peter Parker's a nerd. Like, he's got no social skills. Of course that's how he's going to go bad. He's going to do an emo haircut. He's going to wear all black, and he's going to go to, like, edgy jazz clubs. Like, that's his idea of being a bad guy.
Yeah.
That, to me, is funny now. The movie is still, like we've said, incredibly overstuffed. Like, I think they definitely could have taken one villain out, probably two, and maybe just focused on the Harry Osborn Peter Parker dynamic, like fully fledge that out. Don't throw Venom in the third act. Don't do that to Venom.
Yeah.
Like, one of Spider-Man's greatest villains, and you're just gonna throw him in.
See, now here's the thing. Here's my take on it, and this is branching a little further than just Spider-Man, is what Spider-Man 3 set up. Up until now, in 2007, we've only had one hero, one villain in every movie, right? Maybe like a second semi-villain in there. We've never had... He's got, in this movie, 3 separate villains at one time. Now he befriends Harry...
I'm going to fan theory this. 4.
Okay, who's the 4th?
That's my fan theory. We'll get into that later, but
okay.
Just 4.
So
okay.
I think this is like the first moment where I looked and said, okay, finally they're looking and they're trying to figure out how to do screen time to get characters in here. We've got Venom, but the problem with Venom, they made him no character. He's just the symbiote parasite. And then they went to Sandman and gave him a backstory, which in the editor's cut is actually really good. His story. It's detailed. It's a little bit further. And then they have Harry, which we have this huge drama, which is spilled over from Spider-Man 2. So in looking at it, now we've got 3 different things. The next step for this would have been to bring in a second hero. To have, they brought it in with Harry by turning him around and having 2 heroes at the end, right? And he gets the death scene. But like a Spider-Man 4 movie, you could have the beginnings of some other hero coming in, like, kind of like building up. And that's where Avengers comes in. Like, you started bringing in more heroes and more people to where it's more than just this small story, Spider-Man versus one bad guy, one story. And I like that they did this. This is when it started.
So from a director point of view, like a writer point of view, if you want to have Harry have a hero-villain arc, villain-hero arc, then maybe you do need 3 villains, because if he's going to flip at the end, let's say you take Venom out, you can't just have Spider-Man and Harry versus Sandman. No. It's got to be Spider-Man, Harry versus Venom and Sandman. Maybe kind of like going off of what you said. Yeah, maybe that's why they went with the 3 villains. I wish they would have taken Venom out and maybe like teased him or something. You could tease him, but just take out the entire symbiote storyline entirely, because that itself should just be an entire movie.
Did you like the Venom movie?
I liked the first one.
Okay.
But a lot of criticism for that movie stems around there's no Spider-Man. Like, you can't have Venom movie without Spider-Man. But I thought, what's his face? Who's the Tom Holland? Not Tom Holland. Who's Venom?
I know who you're talking. Yeah, Venom guy. Oh my gosh, how did we blank on him?
What is his?
Oh, brain fart. Venom movie.
It's Tom, right?
It is Tom.
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy.
Ah,
thank you.
Okay. So I think Tom Hardy did an excellent job in that movie. It's a great movie, but you need Spider-Man. If you have Venom, you need Spider-Man.
So, but you know what's nice is they built Venom as a character there. He had a voice, he had a personality. Yeah. And in this movie, Venom is no personality and he's not a person. We kind of see Topher Grace as coming through. Eddie Brock's character kind of give a voice to Venom, where he gets that little snaky voice. But they didn't develop Venom. So Venom was, and so that way they didn't have to. It was kind of like you had 1.5 villains. Really, you don't have to do too much.
To me, that doesn't work. Like, you got to spend more time on that guy.
Yeah, they just wrote it off as, he amplifies all your negative characteristics, right? They just wrote that off. Nowadays, they would put that in, do it a little bit better because of Venom. We see Venom has to be developed as a character too. Anyway, I think this formula could work, and it's what started the idea that you can have more than just one character battling, like Green Goblin versus Spider-Man, the whole movie, right?
Yeah.
I think this started that chain, but
overstuffed.
But overstuffed.
You know what I'd compare to this movie? Like every time I watch Batman vs Superman, which I think we all kind of like on this podcast. Mm-hmm. It's not really a very well loved movie, but I think we all like it. Batman vs Superman feels very much like this movie, where it's got a lot of really good parts. It's just a little overstuffed, and then they throw Doomsday in like Act 3, and it's like no, don't throw Doomsday in. Like keep it out. Save it for its own movie.
You're treading on light water here, sir, because I think that's a perfect movie. I love that movie. But I think, but you're right. This whole movie, they're fighting and doing all this, and then at the end, they bring in all of a sudden this big character, which is exactly what they do here in Spider-Man 3.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The part that I complain about, Sandman gets too big. Like I'm just like, what's the cap on a Sandman? Like how big can he really get? Like I know that works in comic books, where he's as big as a building, but as big as a building with a hammer fist smashing Peter Parker, yeah, he's gonna squish him like I do a spider when I really do see him. Like just is gone, not hits him 7-8 times and he wakes up without a concussion.
One of my irritants in superhero movies, and my wife can attest to this because every time we watch a movie and this happens, I get really mad, is like undefined powers or like inconsistent powers within the hero, like in terms of like strength and ability. It's like, okay, give me some exposition, show me, tell me, I don't care. Tell me what this guy can do. Tell me what the limits are. And you get that a lot with Sandman. It's like, what can this guy do exactly? Like, does it hurt him when you punch him? Because he gets punched in the face and it seems to hurt. He gets hit by a train, it seems to hurt. But then there's that scene where he's robbing the cash truck, the armored truck. Yeah. And Spider-Man punches right through him and he's totally fine. It's like, how can this guy get hurt? And kind of same thing with the suit a little bit. Like, what does that suit do? I don't think it ever actually shows that it makes him stronger. It doesn't make him stronger. I know it does in the comics, but I don't think in the movie it ever really touches on that too much. It just kind of makes him more aggressive.
Like, where is his limits that we don't like? There's no, this is as far as you can go. Like, we just make it up. That's just lazy writing. That's what that is. We're just going to write our way out of it. So
yeah, that's kind of what it seems like. It's just kind of like a clever plot device and we can just do whatever we want. Should we get into like cinematography? You want to get into cinematography?
Yes.
Or should we? All right. What did you notice in the movie in terms of shots?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I guess, one of my favorite scenes of cinematography. So I'm looking at kind of the angle and everything. The number one scene in this movie that jumps out to me is when he saves Gwen falling off the building. And there's like pieces of concrete that are spinning. And Spider-Man goes into the center frame of the camera, hits the concrete, flips around it, jumps off it, catches her between two pieces of concrete that were coming at her, and saves her right at the perfect moment. But in that moment, it goes slow motion and silence, and it is an incredible shot. Like that's the shot that I look back and I probably when I owned the DVD, when I first got it, I remember rewinding that scene and watching that 4 or 5 times. Like I was like, this is just a great Spider-Man on the real screen shot. Like this is what you should see. And so, and honestly, if Andrew Garfield had paid attention to it, he might have saved Gwen too in his Spider-Man movie. Jumping I'm sorry. That is out of bounds. I apologize. I'm just saying, if he would have jumped forward towards her more than just jumping out and just falling, Tobey Maguire did it and saved Gwen. It just could have happened. Just there you go. Oh, that's brutal. I'm sorry. But this is why Craig kicked me off for 4 weeks. No, but
you're negotiating pay. What's going on?
Yeah. I think that's a great scene. I think that whole scene blends together well. It's the perfect cut of a Spider-Man cinema, the sound mixed with the effect and the camera. And he's really in focus at that part, and some of the concrete is blurred a little bit. I mean, it's all drawing your eyes to Spider-Man. So,
yeah, I think like we've had 3 different iterations of Spider-Man at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least live action. And I really think overall Sam Raimi is probably the most consistent in his ability to show like the agility and really make the audience feel like you're there when Spider-Man's doing his acrobatic stuff. Like the way the camera will just like snap and crash and zoom, and it gives like a weightless feeling to Spider-Man. Like you feel like this is almost like second nature to him as he's dodging through buildings and dodging rubble. I feel like we saw a lot of that too in Peter's first fight with Harry, like the aerial chase scene.
That was
the
really
camera
good.
moves kind of like frantically around, like shot to shot to shot, but at the same time, like while it's unpredictable, it feels on point, and it feels like it has a purpose. And I think the camera shots in that scene, as well as like the dodging debris when Gwen is falling, like both of those camera shots are amazing. And you can really see like Sam Raimi in his roots with like Evil Dead, where he was directing more like horror style films. So you can kind of see that in here with the close up shots and like I guess the shots of like character faces when there's big action happening.
He does do that.
He knows how to like do that really, really well, and sometimes to comedic effect. Like right before, during that first aerial fight scene, right before Harry like biffs it, they do a close up of his face, almost to like comedic effect before he gets hit on the head and amnesia. But yeah, Raimi does that really, really well. I think a lot better than the other Spider-Man movies, and I think the MCU is missing that a little bit with its Spider-Man. You don't see a lot of that agility and web slinging and things like that. But a lot of that might have to do with Tom Holland's Spider-Man like being removed from New York. I think New York is as much of a character in this as anything else. And Tom Holland's character
has to
is
have
just rarely in New York.
He's not.
He's always in other places.
Another scene that I thought had really good camera angles was when he beat up Goblin Jr., and then he's the bad Spider-Man at that time, right? So he's Venom. There's a scene where he's talking and he's like, look at Goblin Jr. Is he going to cry? The camera's looking down, looking up at Spider-Man a little bit here, and he's standing over the Goblin, looking down. And so it's kind of like at this point, Parker is powerful, and I'm looking down on you now. Like you may have all this power and everything from this potion you've been doing, but I'm still above you. So it's kind of, and he's the villain at that point, right? So I thought it was pretty good. That was a good shot too. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing we talked about a lot, I think, with Spider-Man 2 also was the verticality of the fights and how, like, that's what you should see in a Spider-Man movie. And, yeah, I made note of that in both when he's fighting, that opening fight when he's fighting Harry, that there's a lot of extreme high, extreme low angles. And then you see that with Spider-Man versus Venom at the end, too, up the side of the skyscraper. Like, it should be disorienting to us, and it should be impossible for it's clearly CGI, but like I want to see Spider-Man moving up and down as well as side to side. And then my last thing for composition, Craig, is Flint. See, now this is where I think the editor's cut gave Flint a better story. When he is looking at his daughter as he comes in the beginning of the movie, his face is half light, half dark. Right? It's very two-faced. Nice. And it's an intentional. And his whole point is, I'm not a bad person. I've just had bad luck. That's his quote, right? And I look at that and I think when his face was half light, half dark, you look and you go, man, this guy just has the shaded past. This has the bad luck on this side. And on this side, he knows he's a good person. And at the end of the arc, we get his story and Spider-Man forgives him and he wisps away to a life of leisure as dirt in the sand somewhere. So, right, but like
I mean,
He's gonna go settle down in the Sahara. He's gonna be.
He
just
can't
fine.
go be a villain again after this. It'd be like, okay, then don't tell me you're a good guy, right? But still, my point is, it was a very intentional shot to put him half light, half dark. So
Yeah, no, I love that pull. I had two things I just wanted to talk about. You guys, some great things, and nothing to add to those, but just some other composition things. The triumphant return of Spider-Man at the end, where he lands in front of the American flag.
Have that here. Like,
So good.
Is this the last movie to do that? I think it is.
It's pretty great. But then just a beautiful shot, like near the end, Harry dies, and then you have I love pulling out the triangles. You got Peter and MJ on flanking him on either side, and then the sunrise in the foreground, and the camera pulls in and then through, and like, hey, it's a chance. It's a sunrise. It's a chance for a new beginning for the two of them. It's poetic.
Oh,
Beautiful shot.
CGI sunset, wasn't it? It's so.
As much as Justin loves
No,
those.
actually, no. This is a CGI sunrise.
Yeah,
that's what that is. Yes.
Now that I think about it, yeah. So do I hate that more, less, or the same?
It's the opposite, so you should like it.
Justin
don't
loves
think so.
CGI sunsets.
Oh my! Just freaking wait for sunrise. Film it at sunrise. How hard is that? How hard is?
Apparently, it's hard, Justin.
I don't think they get
It's-
those kinds of sunrises unnatural in New York. I don't think so.
I don't even care. You like, just I don't care if it looks worse. Just give me an authentic sunrise or sunset.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this? Is the sun inaccessible for some reason? Why is
Every
this so
day.
difficult?
They don't-
Every day.
they don't wanna get up
Like
early.
maybe
No,
They're
Just-
busy.
it's not about the
All right,
beauty. It's
cool.
about the verisimilitude.
so film it
That's
during
a word I've
sunset
never heard.
and then put it in reverse.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like you don't want to get up early.
Hey, let's talk about sound. That sound effects, soundtrack, vocal sounds. Who wants to jump in first?
Okay, here we go.
Yep,
Here we go.
do it,
Craig.
Justin.
Ready? You ready for this?
Yep.
Ready? I wasn't here for the Spider-Man 2 movie. So this kind of starts to take place
There you go.
during Spider-Man 2. Hang on. I got to pull up old notes here. So from Spider-Man 2
Yeah.
till this movie, I think the hidden meaning, and we see this through the use of the soundtrack, is that Mary Jane is the actual villain of this whole thing. This whole thing. Green Goblin? No. Doc Ock? No.
Nope.
Venom? Sandman? Harry Osborn as, Green Goblin Jr.? No. It is Mary Jane. Think about it. In the second movie, the whole thing is about like Peter choosing his priorities, right? He's got to choose between Spider-Man and Mary Jane. She puts him in that situation. She's making him choose.
Yeah.
She's like, you know what, Spider-Man? I don't care that your family members are dying. I don't care that you poor as dirt. I don't care because, you know what? People are, not very nice to me sometimes, and I kind of had a mean dad sometimes.
Yeah.
Guess what, Mary Jane? You had a dad. You know who doesn't have a dad? Peter. He had an uncle, and he's dead now. Anyway, so Mary Jane makes him choose. You got to choose to be Spider-Man or love me. And, what kind of choices? Hey, I know you're, saving people on a daily basis, but no, I'm not getting enough attention. Please, love me instead. What the crap, Mary Jane? What is wrong with you? Anyway, and we see that through the score in the film. There is, melodramatic, sad, almost dark undertones. Every time Peter is talking to Mary Jane, so many problems could have been solved if he just, justice for Gwen. I want him and Gwen to be together. Mary Jane is trash.
Gwen.
Justice for Gwen.
Well,
So many of these problems how many times does that girl have to get captured before you start thinking, are you doing this for attention? Is this just so you get some more views, some more likes? What is wrong with you? Flip.
she's a failed actress,
anyway.
but she's a super mastermind villain.
Yeah, so I don't know if Sam Raimi maybe intended that, but I do think the score shows the audience that Mary Jane is the actual villain throughout this whole thing. She's trash.
At the end, that's a great way to end the movie, too, because I was so annoyed with it. Here we have this big fight and everything, and I got to hear Mary Jane sing a song to close it out right before credits.
Yeah.
And I was like, she's a villain. I agree with you, Justin, because that was a terrible ending. So I think for soundtrack-wise, I was like, yeah, I'm going to agree with Justin on that.
Yeah, you even have, at the beginning, you have, Peter's heroic theme, like his leitmotif, and then it transitions and it softens to Mary Jane's, which is really just like a letdown and a bummer, and kind of like ruins the mood in the same way that she ruins Spider-Man.
Yes.
Not the movie, but the character. Like she ruins his life.
Ah.
And how many people died in New York when Peter took that little break to just be himself, so that way she could have some more attention?
That's hero guilt. You can't lay hero guilt on him.
Yeah, she gave him that look.
No, but
when, like,
he
the
didn't
sirens
want
were
to
going.
make that
Heroes
choice.
need a vacation too.
She pushed him to make that choice,
Yeah.
though.
That's true.
Anyway, I think Danny Elfman does that on purpose. He's like,
Well,
I don't know if Sam
he didn't
Raimi
score
saw this, but I see it.
He didn't score this film.
Who scored
I'm
it?
going back more to
Yeah,
to,
no,
to
I got you. I got you.
Spider-Man
Going
2.
back. Yeah, no, we did have a change. Christopher Young took over in this film. He did some work on the second film too, and he did our last film, which is kind of interesting. So that's probably another reason why he got this film. He did Ghost Rider as well. Some of the sounds I really liked in this film. Did you guys like? What about the church bell being the thing that frees Parker from the symbiote? Like the imagery of that. Like every once in a while, there's like these kind of religious
Oh, I had not pieced
overtones. You know, like the redemption that happens from that moment. Like which is contrasted early with Eddie's seemingly confession and it's like, Jesus, all I want is kill Peter Parker.
Kill Peter Parker.
He comes in all humble. All I ask is that you awful. But the church bell thing, and I know that's from the comics too, so that's pretty great.
I just think Venom could have been really great if they didn't just throw him in right at the end. Like that would be really, really cool to kind of explore Eddie Brock's character. I think Eddie Brock, like Topher Grace, does a really good Eddie Brock.
I agree.
Not a super great Venom. But I wish there was more time to explore that, not just chuck him in.
I wish that scene was the end of the film.
I think he did really good. I think Eddie Brock was actually really good when he says, "I like being bad. It makes me feel good."
Oh, I hate that line so much, Corey.
Huh?
I hate that line so much. It's so cheesy.
No, but here's the thing. He is such a mousy guy. He was in the movie Predators, and he was the same character, the villain who's kind of out there, and kind of the small mousy guy who's actually a villain and has this terrible, wicked attitude like that. And so I thought, when I saw it, I thought, that's the same guy in Predators. Like, it was just really good. I thought he's a good villain. You don't have to see him do anything other than a CGI Venom. So, I mean, that's...
Yeah,
I want to come back to the performances
like I said,
a little bit later, but yeah, because I do have some thoughts on that. But I do.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I do.
I have a lot to say about that.
I got to say one thing, though, with our sounds, just because we're on soundtracks and stuff. I do think Toby Mac's voice annoys me so much when he's on the phone all the time. He did it in Spider-Man 1. He puts the phone like up on his mouth, and he's like, "Hey, Mary Jane, don't go any dark alleys." Like, and it's so breathy, like it's terrible. It just bugs me. I don't know what it is. And then when he screams Mary Jane all the time, and I have to admit, I think this is the problem with the Spider-Man originals. There's no motion in his mask, so it's all that Mary Jane scream, and it might be the same screen all three movies. They just cut it and spliced it in there every time, so it sounds the same, Mary Jane. And so those two things drive me crazy in this trilogy. Is that I like the Tom Holland mask with the eyes, so I can react a little more. So I think that matters.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get into this a little bit later, but of the three Peter Parkers, I think Tobey Maguire's probably the weakest. I don't super love Tobey Maguire as an actor in general. Yeah.
I do want to compliment Christopher Young though on the two new themes that we had. The Sandman theme I thought was pretty great, and the symbiote theme, the Venom theme, is fantastic. Both of them using a lot of French horns. But
are you saying the Sandman theme would, like, when he first becomes the Sandman?
Well, you hear
I thought
that
music was great.
Yeah, there's it's like a really
somber.
And very slow, and especially when he tries to pick up the locket and all of those things, and then it resolves into this more determined version after he finally picks it up.
Yeah.
Oh my! That scene where he tries to pick up that locket, that comes together, CGI aging aside. That is probably the most powerful scene in the movie. Like that is excellent. We referenced that in another podcast we did.
Yeah, the Fantastic Four is a similar thing with the thing trying to pick up the ring. very
That's right,
similar
yeah. That's a
emotion.
really, really nice shot.
The intro music before the show starts with the credits and stuff, I thought that was great. Like, it's totally recognizable, Spider-Man's theme and the little drumstick, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I'd said earlier, I think when we did the first Spider-Man movie, that I didn't really like the Spider, and that was my initial thought when I first heard Danny Elfman's theme for Spider-Man, that it was like it so paled in comparison to his Batman theme that I was like, yeah, it's just not there. But after revisiting these three films this quickly, it really grew on me. I'm like, like that triumphant thing at the end where he comes back and tries to save MJ against Venom and Sandman. We have the shot with the American flag and all that stuff. Like, yes, I was looking forward to that, and it's coming back and resounding, and it's like, yes, this is Spider-Man's theme, and I'm all for it.
I still have such a hard time differentiating it from the Batman 1989 theme. They sound so similar. It's good, but it's very. I mean, I don't. Obviously, the guy's a genius. I don't want to like knock him, but like it's very derivative, I guess.
Yeah.
Here I am having no musical ability, like commenting on that, but.
Well, it's not like the Batman theme is a march, which I think is the one thing that I latch onto, and I think that's why it sticks in my brain. Like that, it's got heavier. They both have like percussion, but I think it's more driving, heavier percussion in the Batman theme.
But I think it's because I grew up watching the Batman, like the 1989 Batman, and that's a darker, Tim Burton film.
Sure.
So when we open this movie with that same similar sounding theme, like it's almost expected. At least my brain, it preps me for like a darker film.
Yeah.
And then we don't ever really get that.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we do get the jazz club scene, which is pretty dark.
Gosh.
Man, so
I want
edgy.
to talk about that when we get to performances, but yeah, I have lots to say about that. We do have the Spider-Man 67 theme also diegetically played by the school band when he gets the key to the city and that whole thing, that's just fun little nod that we have that. And I think my favorite music thing, though, other than the two themes, which I think those are great, is they have that opening song that Mary Jane is singing. They say it's wonderful. And then like the music kind of drifts out and it becomes like this foreboding orchestral background music, non-diegetic, as the camera pans up to see Harry kind of watching the whole thing. And I thought that was a really smooth transition into that. And I did notice this time, too, that They Say It's Wonderful is actually being played by the violinist in the restaurant when Peter's trying to propose. So, like, nice job, Peter. Like, seriously, because he set all that up. Like, he really put in some effort into this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you kind of shoot yourself in the foot if you kiss a girl. Was it earlier that day or the day before?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What a dumb.
Don't do
so
it,
dumb.
Spider-Man. That little
Don't
kid.
do it. And then he goes, yeah, go ahead. They'll love it. And then how in the world does he go to the restaurant and with a straight face say to her,
okay,
it's
I
just
take
a girl
back
in my
everything I said
chemistry.
about him. Yeah.
It's just a girl in my chemistry class.
Maybe he's overcompensating. That's what it is.
Like, he's
That'd be
so
fine.
full of himself at that end.
And unaware that she got fired. So he's rubbing the salt in the wound by having him play the song that she got fired because she couldn't sing it well enough.
Yeah.
You were in the front row.
I mean, makes sense though. She's awful. So
she is awful. Sorry, Kirsten Dunst fans, but yeah, least favorite part.
do those exist? Does she have fans?
Hey. That's harsh.
So shall we move down to performance? Because we already kind of alluded to
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Topher
we got
Grace.
lots to
And
say.
yeah, I also just want to echo what you said, Corey. I think Topher did exactly what, like, we're friends, Topher. He did what he was asked.
Yeah.
Like, and I know they were setting it up to be kind of like the foil, and he's like a mirror image of Peter, like the dark version of that, and that's why they cast him like physically body type instead of like big hulking guy. And I love that choice. I think that's really smart.
I think he
I
plays
think him
it
as a
well.
character just generally is great.
Gwen Stacy bugs me. Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah.
Yeah, like she's
a plot
good
device,
and
Corey.
she's very pretty, but she's just a plot device, and so there's really no depth. She just looks like I don't know. She just looks like just ditzy. Like she doesn't have any depth other than to say to Mary Jane sorry and the jazz club and run out. Like
Yeah. I mean, she's studio mandated too. That's another note from, I think, Olivia Rod. So
I don't think she was meant to have depth. Like you said, Corey, I think she's just a plot device to kind of just give Spider-Man someone else to go for. Like, but I don't think we needed a lot of depth there.
No.
I think James Franco though, like that guy, he killed it. Like I think he did a really, really good job
yeah, I agree.
in this film.
He's very good in this.
Why are you laughing, Corey?
He's
What's
a
going on
little
here?
cheesy. His wink has got to be one of the most
Oh, I love it.
common GIF ever. I've sent it out 100,000 times too.
You mean gift, Corey?
GIF. You're
Yeah,
saying
you
it wrong,
said
everybody.
GIF?
You're saying it wrong.
Listen,
No.
Justin and I briefly talked about this. This has to be the most memed and GIFed movie of all time. Like
There's
from
a
this
lot
movie,
of gifts
What's
that
that
come
word?
from this. Yes.
this
Yeah, a lot of
movie,
gifs.
all the memes, like black suit Spider-Man. You can't see me, but I'm dancing like that. I mean, I'm just saying, this whole thing is just memes and GIFs through this thing.
Okay.
But
Peanut butter
I
in
think
this
Harry
movie?
does a really good job of like he plays the evil guy, but he's kind of like a sadistic, funny evil guy, right? Like he's toying with Peter quite a bit,
Yeah.
obviously. Which again, Mary Jane was all too willing to break up with Peter Parker at the behest
Didn't take much.
of Harry. Like,
Yeah.
I think she's in on it a little bit. But then when he switches and he has to be like that goofy guy that like has a little bit of amnesia and he's like being silly with Mary Jane, like he's funny. I like him. He's kind of a dork, and
Yeah.
I love
I'm
that
good with
line.
it.
How's the pie?
Does a great
So
job.
good. Like he's
Yeah.
I love that.
Jonah
Yeah.
Jameson in this movie absolutely kills it. I think he is incredible. Like, this is peak Jonah Jameson through the whole thing.
I'm gonna have to argue.
you
on
can't
that
recast that guy.
What?
One. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they kind of made him a caricature in this film.
Oh,
I especially the thing with the pills and the buzzing, like that bugged me. Like I think in the second movie he's better than this film.
I thought the pills and the buzzing was a perfect end to kind of say, like, he's reached a point where he's like got to calm down. He's too fired up in all the other movies in this one. But I also think his secretary doing the buzzing, she emerged as a little bit more of a character in this movie. Elizabeth Banks, she came out.
Yeah.
Eddie, she has her little like flirting with Eddie Brock, and then flirting with Spider-Man when he's a little bit, comes in with the black suit mentality. Like, she kind of gets a little more screen time and a little more character in here.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I just think like
So you
Spider-Man
don't
2, I
like,
think is peak Jonah. Yeah, I mean, like
I'd say
get
he's
the
probably
caterer
peak.
on the phone. The caterer, yeah, tell him not to open the caviar. I'm like,
Oh, that's
all of that stuff. This is the one where that again, very popular GIF. You serious?
You serious?
The laugh. Oh, you're serious? That's from the second movie. So
True.
I will say that I did not find this movie to be very quotable.
What?
I had
There's
a hard
couple
time.
good ones. There's a couple good ones.
Yeah, just like I don't like the. I don't like the. It makes I like being bad. I think that's dumb. I do think. I mean,
The writing was probably the weakest of
yeah,
this.
well, somebody mentioned earlier, and I can't remember what Flint said about "I'm not a bad person, just had bad luck." I think that is really solid. I think
That's
that
a solid line.
this character is just because of, and I think that's true in a lot of ways, especially when you see that flashback in black and white. Like he didn't mean for the gun to go off, and he's just kind of dealing with the hand that he's been dealt.
All right,
we don't like the retcon though, right? Of
Yes.
I mean,
Did we have to watch Uncle Ben die again in here? Like, this was a second Uncle Ben death in the one trilogy.
I do like it because this. I'm going to skip down to it. Okay, I had this like under Hero's Journey, but I'll talk to it now because I think it also fits with that. Because I think what's really interesting is that you have this whole thing where you have Peter and you have Harry and you have Eddie and Sandman. They all have these different choices, and they're all defined by them and whether or not they have an opportunity for redemption, and they have an opportunity to either be forgiven or to forgive. And you see Harry forgive, and you see Peter forgive. And I don't think that you have. It's kind of like, I mean, it's again, go back to Batman, like the fact that he has to face his, the killer that put him on this path. I think that that's a powerful thing that he has that, which is the only other line that I had. Well, actually, later there's a little monologue where he says it at the end. He talks about we're defined by our choices. That's where I come to that, where he forgives Sandman. That you wouldn't have that because that other guy died, and so to have that, I know it is a retcon, but for me that actually worked on this pass through.
I think I would have liked it more if they left the ambiguity there in the first film, so it felt like it was more organic than like just a complete retcon, like maybe if the carjacker in the first film said something to the effect of like, it wasn't me, it was my partner, something like that to leave some doubt to make room for this, but it just seems
It felt like it was tacked on. Like if that had been seeded in the first movie, you'd have been okay with it. Is that what you're kind of saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I see that. I can see that.
Yeah. Overall, the story has a lot of flaws. Yeah, it does. I see that.
That last monologue, this is what Peter says. He says, whatever comes our way, whatever battle we have raging inside us, we always have a choice. My friend Harry taught me that. He chose to be the best of himself. It's the choices that make us who we are, and we can always choose to do what's right. And this is the thing, too, when you don't have that scene, and this is, I read one of the editor's notes on this, like, in the editor's cut, when you don't have the butler coming in and going, actually, your dad didn't kill, or wasn't killed by Peter, that Harry actually, what happens, the replacement scene of that, was where he looks at a photo of him and MJ and Peter, and remembers the relationship that they had. And so he makes the choice, still assuming that Peter is the one that's responsible for the death. So that's a choice of forgiveness.
I hadn't pieced that together. That makes this better.
It's not a, well, I guess I don't have to hold a grudge now because it wasn't actually his fault. It's literally, I'm going to forgive him.
Okay, that makes that arc better because now he went into that final battle thinking to himself, Peter, you're still the guy that killed my dad.
But I'm
still here to fight because as a friend, and I'm even going to sacrifice because he jumps in front and just takes that blade.
Yeah, and I think it's a stronger arc for him that way.
That's a stronger arc for him, absolutely. Okay, you got me there because I did wonder why they take that.
Yeah, that butler scene always bugged me anyway. It's like, why didn't you say that 2 movies ago, you jerk?
Yeah, you jackwagon.
Yeah, well, he's old,
Alfred.
Craig, he forgot.
Alfred would have said something.
Let that guy retire. My goodness.
Man.
Anywho.
All right, we're off. Where are we at? Craig?
There's a few quotes in here that are pretty good, though. Okay? I'm going to tell you. Listen, okay. You want my quotes, Craig? You can have my quotes when you fix this damn door.
Solid.
Oh, man, he's so edgy.
It is such a good line. I have yelled that line in my house at times. I'm telling you. I cannot be the only one who's thrown that out at some point.
Oh, my goodness.
I love when he's bad and he's fighting with Brock and he goes to expose him and he says, you want forgiveness, get religion. Like, that's a good, solid scene right there.
But then he does and goes to the church and the bell and all of the things.
Yes. See? That's not a bad quote.
I don't like that scene because at no point have we ever established that Peter is religious or references religion at all.
But maybe that's the only reason he goes to the church. I just fixed
maybe. Thank you. Thanks, Craig. How about my personal favorite line, #sarcasm. Eddie Brock is, my spider sense is tingling, if you know what I'm talking about. What the heck?
Bad.
Like, bro, come on.
That was terrible.
What are you doing?
That's that 70s show right there coming back home. I will say this.
How would he know what a spider sense is?
No.
I'm going to go with...
Yeah.
Then go with quotes. Let's go with you, Craig. A couple quotes you hate, because here's a quote I absolutely hate in the movie, is when... And I think the snowboard's a terrible idea. I don't know why we had to go with a snowboard scooter or flyer.
Because it's different and sells more toys.
Because, it's like, toys. You know what? He reinvented. This kid wasn't passing chemistry. He was cheating off Peter 2 movies ago.
That stuff was all in the Goblin Lair ahead of time. They did that tracking shot from left to right. There was a whole bunch of different stuff.
Did they? And it showed the snowboard?
All the gear, all the helmets, all the things are already
I saw the other glider. I didn't see this one. Anyway, but I hate the line when he's flying up to save Mary Jane and Peter's on the front of it holding on. And he says, does this thing got any more? And he says, hang on. And he's like, to what?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, listen, this is Spider-Man. And in the comic lore, he's supposed to be able to, like, hold anything. Like, you couldn't pry him off of a wall. Like, that's how strong he is. So to tell me he's not going to be able to hold on to the glider, I was like, you kind of lost me there. That's,
Okay.
So, and Tobey Maguire saying to what is pretty cheesy. So that's a bad quote.
Okay. I did want to
get another Shazam in this movie.
Yeah. Call back to that. Yeah, I caught that.
Yeah.
Which doesn't land quite the same way now because I'm like, the DC villain or our hero? That guy. Where's Zachary Levi? Okay, so this is the thing that I had heard, and I really like this about the dancing, and I should have mentioned this earlier too. It's James Brown's "People Get Up and Drive Your Funky Soul" is the song that's playing there. Is Peter's dancing and
oh my gosh, it's so bad,
like a DJ announcing the next song. Like
Here's the thing
at
about
like
the
2 a.m. and nothing but old people listening. Drive your funky soul.
The dancing is and all of that. This is Peter's idea of what's cool. It's not actually cool. He's a dork and doesn't know what cool is. And if that's why you're seeing the women looking at him and going, "What? No," and shaking their heads at him, like it's not supposed to be cool. And I love that it's self-referential. It knows that it's dumb.
So we mentioned that earlier, but do you think that was intentional? Or is that what we have just tacked on years later?
I think it's intentional. I think the women's reaction to him is what sells that for me.
Yeah.
But it again.
Okay, that's fair. I never thought that until maybe 10 years ago. I just always assumed that Sam Raimi is like, what are you doing, man?
Sam Raimi doesn't know that's cool. Well, I mean, Sam Raimi's a nerd too. I mean, all the good ones are. Yeah.
The best line was the close up of Parker's lips when he's like, now dig on this. Like, oh man, that
so bad. Okay, I will compliment it.
The snapping.
Though, when they go back to the club at the end, as much as I don't like the end and how it feels kind of tacked on, I think that I do like where Peter just extends his hand to MJ and she accepts, and there's this kind of wordless reconciliation. Because I don't there's nothing that you could write that would be as good as that. I'm sorry. Yeah, I forgive you. Like, that's dumb.
Well, she accepts because she knows that her plot to destroy Peter Parker and Spider-Man has failed.
Yes.
So she has to get back with him in order to fully
play
destroy him. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, many of you don't know this, but there was actually a Spider-Man 4 that, ended up being canceled for reasons, where she is the villain, like full-on villain. She gets the Infinity Gauntlet, actually, and just takes out
Even though they
Peter
didn't have
Parker.
the rights to that? That's amazing.
Don't worry. Well, I mean, it was in production, but yeah.
Some things
studio politics.
Some things I don't like about. Okay, there's on the costumes. I think there's some good stuff and some bad stuff. Like I love that Flint Marko is wearing the striped shirt, like that very comic accurate shirt. Like that absolutely works for me.
Don't like that.
Okay.
Nope.
I
like. I appreciate the nod to the comics, but it didn't look
natural.
It didn't look authentic. Like nobody would wear that.
He's made out of sand.
Right?
That shirt's made out of sand. It's not a real cloth.
No, he found that though, like in the house.
Yeah, but he looks like an idiot. Like update it in some way. Like you don't need to be 100% comic accurate.
Give him a Nike.
What did you guys? Okay, and so what did you think about the black version of the suits? Because it's not comic accurate. It's just a black version of the. Okay, so Justin, you
hate it
because it's not the Venom suit
so much,
right? Yeah,
because the Venom suit doesn't have lines and stuff on it.
Terrible though. I'm divided on that because I actually like that suit. I feel like you're right. They probably should have gave him a better version of it, like something with like the one Venom, the one that has the white stripes on it. Might be right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So as a kid, again, I said this at the start of the show. Loved Spider-Man. Loved the black symbiote entirely. Do you guys like it? You know how like there's that thing where like if you hold your breath through a tunnel, you get to like make a wish. You know that whole thing as a kid. Did you guys ever do that?
Yeah.
My wish was always to get an action figure of the black symbiote Spider-Man. That was always that was my wish every single time because I wanted that suit so bad. Mm-hmm. And then when Spider-Man 3 came out and this was the suit, I was like, "Where's the white spider?" Mm-hmm. All you did is paint the thing black.
Yep.
It doesn't look as cool. There's not like the stark contrast.
You're right.
It's just black.
That's true.
Creative.
The Eddie Brock version of the suit looked better. He had the further eyes, and he had the white spider that went higher up to the shoulders and down. That's what I'm thinking. That looks better.
Yeah. That looks much better.
Yeah, it did. But I hate that they showed his face while he's like Venom. That just always bugged me. I hate that makeup so much. Like that's all or nothing on that stuff.
Yeah,
bugs me.
It's always bugged me too that when he is Venom and it like pulls back and shows his face, like you said, how like decayed his teeth are. Like how quickly did that happen? Why are your teeth so decayed? Because before they were fine.
And from what I've read too is like those fangs like actually bruised his gums and jacked him up, so he didn't like him either. So just another reason to just like stop doing that stuff. It was dumb.
Yeah, I just think take the whole Venom symbiote, take it out. Boom, all gone.
Oh, I actually like
have
Venom.
Eddie Brock. But have Eddie Brock in the film and then just set it up for the next film
I think you absolutely,
where he can fully embrace fighting.
100%. I really want the last scene of the film to be the church tower. Like
Yeah.
have him defeat.
Yes.
Have him defeat. Well, I think originally it was just going to be Harry and Sandman. Have him whatever that's going to be. And it wasn't supposed to be MJ at the end too. It was like wasn't supposed to be that way. But then whatever. But have that be and have him do something wrong, like cross a line in some way, and then that's how it ends. Well, it ends on a cliffhanger. And then
Wait, the bell tower or Topher Grace in the church?
All that whole scene where like he gets Venom off or gets the symbiote off of him with the bell tower. Have that.
See, I think don't even introduce the symbiote. Maybe in like a mid-credit or post-credit scene, you have what happens at the beginning where Mary Jane and Peter are on the web.
And just really
and like
shorthand
the comet meteor thing comes down.
Oh yeah, that would be
mid-credit scene.
Also, them hanging out on his web is gross.
Yeah.
That is gross.
It's disgusting.
That came out of his body, right? Spider-Man, No Way Home. That came out of you?
That came out of you? Yes. Yeah, and when it's a regular Spider-Man when it's not
Does it come out of anywhere else? Like, I mean, let's be honest. That's a good question.
Gross. Great shot though when it turns around because his world got spun around. I meant to say that earlier. Like, I love that tracking shot, which is cool.
Also, is that web sticky or is the web not sticky? Because they should be sticking to that thing, but they're crawling across like
the movie needs it to work, Justin. Is there like a
the movie can happen.
Short time frame that happens with that? All right, let's go ahead and talk about setting design. There's a lot of stuff we've already talked about, like the Flatiron building and stuff in earlier films. Same trashy apartment for Peter and whatnot. But there was a few things on the set decoration that, I mean, I kind of mentioned the Goblin's lair, all full of the different masks, the pumpkin bombs, the multiple gliders. That has that transfer. It's convenient that he has a transformation chamber hidden in his house.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's hitting the sauce
for emergencies.
I thought it was cool. They had that Doc Ock still at large headline in the newspaper, framed on the wall. That was a nice little nod.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I want to know why Green Goblin would have all that stuff like hidden away. Like, when did he have time to do that? Because he wasn't Green Goblin for that long.
No. Like a couple weeks.
Can you see him in there, like meticulously, just like setting up like the pumpkin bombs, like on the shelf, and like for later? Like, no, like,
his butler
didn't seem like much of a planner.
Maybe.
Oh, that's right.
That was his Alfred.
Okay.
I think the one setting that drives me crazy is the subway where he fights Flint and tries to kill him with the water. That whole room in there, like, there's just this ginormous bridges of subways going 5 different directions, and that's supposed to be like, where is this located in New York? Like, that is just crazy to me that they would have this old rustic subway with a ginormous river running through it, a pipe. And so I kind of was like, that part, it's a little too far for me. Like, I think that whole scene is great, the fight, but it's a little too much. Like, you got to be kidding me. Like, there's just subways ramping through
I don't know enough about subways or New York.
I was a little
lost. The science behind it is faulty. Let me just say that as a science teacher. I can't get behind it.
All right. Okay, here's something for you. So prop-wise, did you guys find any meaning in the fact that Parker was keeping the black suit in a trunk?
I did wonder about it.
There's a scene where and I thought was kind of funny, and they had to do it, I guess, so you could see the choice that he's got his regular red and blue suit hanging in the closet, which is hilarious because, dude, you're a superhero with a secret identity. Stop doing that. But no, it's in the trunk, and it's Pandora's box, man.
Oh.
I was thinking more of like he's hiding his shame, but that works too.
I mean, both of those work, but that's kind of the way I looked at it because he looks at it and he's making a choice and like he opens that up, like what's going to happen? You don't quite know, but like once it's open, like it's on.
It a little bit bugs me, and I know this is like a weird nitpick, but that when the suit is off of him, they're using I don't know how to explain this. They're using the actual suit that he wears as a prop. But the actual suit that he wears is like shrunken and shriveled because, it has to like form fit to him. So when it's not on him, it looks really, really weird. I would have preferred something that looked a little bit better and not just like crunched up latexy, plasticky stuff, you know?
No, that's fair.
It looks a little odd. That's just always bugged me.
Yeah.
It's not a huge nitpick.
All right.
Speaking of like props and things like that, the grains of sand for Sandman are like comically large. Maybe I just don't visit enough beaches or something, but I'm sure they probably did that to show it better on camera. But that scene where he sits down and he like dumps it out of his boots, those grains of sand are like, I don't know, like Tylenol size.
Kitty litter.
They're so big. Yeah, kitty litter. Yeah.
Like how did his suit's form fitting as we just talked about, and like basically it's sealed all the way up. How did he get into his boots? Apparently, there's a lot more holes in that thing than. I mean, it's fun if it's played for laughs. I mean, I don't think it's not supposed to be real, but.
Well.
Okay, so what if it gets in his boots? Do you think it's in his butt crack?
Oh.
And if it's in his butt crack, is that sand still sentient?
Yes.
Like, can the Sandman still control it?
Technically,
if it's in his butt.
I mean, so he's like a symbiote too, kind of.
Yeah. Wait, so there's symbiote
so
left. That Craig or Justin, that's an incredible thought. That's horrible to think about.
Is it? Is that an incredible thought?
That is. Well, that's
I don't know if I'd say incredible.
It's definitely.
So what if he's at home? He's like going to the bathroom, and Sandman's like, surprise, surprise, and he like pops out of the toilet.
Well, water is kind of his weakness, though, right? So probably not coming out of the toilet.
Oh well. Man, I would like to see that cut of the movie. Come on.
Which cut is that?
That's an alternate
we
version.
had the whole like Ant-Man Thanos,
right?
You know how that was a thing for a while?
Yeah, that's how you kill him.
Created with Sandman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So let's use that to transition into characters. Thomas Hayden Church plays Flint Marko, and he's coming off of, I think, Sideways was the biggest thing he had been in. Obviously, he was on Wings and stuff before that, but I think he's very solid. He's one of the best parts of this movie. I think he does a really good job, and I think he's sympathetic. Do you guys think he's a sympathetic character?
Sandman?
Yeah.
I think his arc in this movie is incredible. I think that's the best part, the glowing part of this movie is his arc. Like, you look and he takes the reason that Peter became a hero because of that robbery. I understand it's retcon, Justin, and I agree with you. It's terrible how they retcon it. But at the same time, they put an emotional spin on it to say, rather than just a random act of violence, there was a reason this happened. And that reason comes full circle for Spider-Man. To grow him character to forgive the guy instead of killing the guy. And then to look and say, because he thought he killed him at one point, right? Like he thought he took vengeance out. He became a vengeful, flushed him down the drain. And then to find out, no, he didn't kill him. And at the end to say, I forgive you, right? So there's an arc for Peter because of Sandman's arc. And I think at the same time, Thomas Hayden Church's arc in the editor's cut is deeper and more emotional. Because he says to his daughter, I'm going to find a way to get you well, no matter what it takes. Right? Like his whole thing with his wife and all of that is incredible. And I feel like he's probably one of the glowing parts of the movie. That's my take.
Yeah. Justin, maybe not.
Yeah.
Of the three cameos, this is my favorite Bruce Campbell one by far.
Oh,
that was my
Bruce
next question.
Campbell.
What's the best cameo?
With his little mustache.
As the maitre d'.
Yeah.
I watched this with my kids for the podcast, and they were cracking up at that guy.
Yeah.
They loved him as the maitre d'.
Yeah, I love him so much. Anytime I can see Bruce Campbell in one of these films. And again, we've talked about this before, but the theory that he was Mysterio the whole time, and that's why we keep seeing him, I so wanted that to get paid off, but alas.
Never heard that fan theory.
It didn't happen.
Ah, yeah, I have not heard
If there's anything else. Yeah, we do have Dylan Baker back as Kurt Connors, so the Lizard's in this film, kind of.
Yep.
But that never gets paid off.
Which he still has part of the symbiote.
I'm okay with
saying.
that.
Yeah, that's true. He does. Yeah, I'm okay with it too.
I like it when they seed in the characters, but then don't like fully represent them on screen. I think that goes to world building, whether or not it pays off.
He's a good character in and of himself without having to be the Lizard.
Yeah, because he's a mentor figure and whatnot.
Okay.
I said but I don't know what I was going to say. Moving on.
Anything else on characters before we talk a little bit about Hero's Journey, which I kind of already talked about a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest
nice to get a William Dafoe flashback.
Yeah, that he's back. He's on all three of these films. Yeah.
Because I love him. I think him as a Goblin is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, no, it's perfect casting.
I think he absolutely kills it again in No Way Home. So.
Yeah, he's great in that too.
Yeah. And the fact that they finally like, you know what, this dude doesn't need a mask. Let's get rid of that mask.
Yep.
Yes.
In No Way Home. That was awesome.
So for Hero's Journey, I pretty much just talked about the redemption arc more than anything. And the only other thing I had from that was that how much this movie starts with, and I don't want to get too much into the MJ thing again, but like it's a very high place. Peter's like at the top of the world at this one, and MJ is not. She's very much at the opposite very quickly, and so he's kind of
bringing him down.
Nowhere to go. Yeah, she brings him down to her level.
Yeah, she does.
But you mentioned world building, Justin, which that's also a great thing we want to talk about. that I still think this, and I'm amazed after, how many years of the MCU are we at now? 17 years. Holy smokes. That there doesn't always have to be a world-ending event. And this film also very, very personal, where it's self-contained enough to just fit neatly into the pre-MCU. We wouldn't have to call in anybody else. We don't have to call in Blade or the X-Men or Daredevil or whatever. Like, this is a very personal thing that he has to deal with. So I really appreciate that. Agreed. They always had these smaller, kind of character-focused, very localized conflicts.
Except, Craig,
I kind of said this earlier.
Oh, go ahead, Corey. You go first, and then I'll go.
No, I just kind of said this earlier. Like, I think Spider-Man and New York are very intertwined. Yeah. Like, you can't put Spider-Man in like a suburb and it be the same. Like, we saw that in the first Tom Holland Spider-Man film, where he's got nothing to web sling on.
That was weird.
Yeah. Spider-Man and New York are tied together. So I like that all three of these Sam Raimi films really take place in New York and like build New York as a character as well. Whereas, the Tom Holland films, the MCU films, he's out of New York in almost all of those movies. Like, he's in Europe for like a good chunk of one of them.
Yeah.
And it's not the same. So like, to see that development side by side, and almost like you have the story arc of New York coming to accept Spider-Man too, right? Mm-hmm. Like, he gets the key to the city, he kisses Gwen Stacy, and that causes its own problems. And you don't really get that with the other ones, which kind of makes me sad.
Yeah, they're kind of well, they are a character. That's I love that you brought that up, because we see that even in the first movie. Like, when they're like, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. There's the subway scene in the second film, where there's kind of this collective protagonist of New York. Collective character, yeah.
Well, but previously in the other two films, you have New York kind of like unofficially, like people of New York okay with Spider-Man, but now it's like an official recognition. We have like a parade for you. We have a band. There's balloons. We love you.
Yeah. All right. So, final thoughts. We'll start with you, Corey. Final thoughts on Spider-Man 3.
I like it. Okay, I like this new version better than the other version. I did not want to watch Spider-Man 3 again for this, because I remember kind of having like I don't feel like they wrote it very well, and I didn't like the arc and stories. But when you said it was the editor's cut, I rented the editor's cut and I watched it. And I like that story better. I feel like Flint gets a better arc. I feel like, and I talked about this with Justin earlier, I feel like this is the movie that kind of started the idea in 2007. We're not just doing one hero, one villain for an entire movie. Like, we could bring in multiple characters, multiple powers, and we have to find a way to do some screen time with them. We have to negotiate. Do they do it perfectly? No. The time gaps in this movie are terrible. Like, you can't tell how much time passed from one scene to the next. Like, was it a week? Was it a month? What took place? But after this, we started getting more superhero movies where you have a world building and there's a presence and an awareness that there's other guys out there. Like, I feel like this is the movie that started that. I don't think of any other movies that was one hero, one villain. Like, that brought in multiple heroes before this. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like this kind of started the notion, like, okay, we're going to have three villains at one point. We're going to redeem one, and now it's 2-on-2 at the end. So I feel like this set the stage for kind of some modern stuff.
Daredevil's the only one I can think of.
Yeah, like, I feel like this sets the stage for it to kind of set it up that there's alliances, that there's groupings, that there's more out there than just you got powers, I got powers, and we're going to fight to the end. So, great movie. Yeah. I like it. It's not perfect. It's definitely meme worthy out of this movie. So that's my take.
Justin.
I think this movie, I kind of said this at the beginning, but I was very disappointed when I first saw it because I literally put my life on hold to go make sure I could see it. But it has aged really, really well. In fact, when I was watching it for the podcast, and I've seen it 7 or 8 times, in total. But when I was watching it for the podcast, it wasn't until the very end of the movie that I, like all throughout the film, I'm like, man, why did I dislike this movie so much? This movie has a lot of good stuff in it. And the edgy Peter Parker, I think, has aged super well because of GIFs and memes and our ability to make fun of it. And it's not until the third act when they're doing, the final battle where I think it all comes together and you're like, oh, this is overstuffed.
Yep.
Like this, they did not have enough time to
That's my
like
feeling,
resolve
too.
a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But everything else is really good. It's obviously, I think, the weakest of the three films.
Yeah.
But it's still, I don't want to say good. It's fun to watch. It's enjoyable to watch.
Yep.
It's definitely like more campy than the other ones, but it's got a lot of really good stuff in there.
Yeah. So I would echo just most of what you guys had said already. But just one thing I'd point out too is that it's kind of odd and kind of poetic also that it ends with a funeral, much like the first one does. And it feels to me, I know they had other movies planned, but this feels like the natural end of a trilogy. Even looking back on it now, like it makes sense that this is the last one.
Yeah.
Of that. So I'm actually, especially after we kind of get a coda in No Way Home, that I'm okay with it being only the three films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious. So we have how many Spider-Man movies do we have? 8? 3 with Tom Holland, 3 with
If you're not
Tobey, and
counting
then
the
2
animated
with
stuff,
yeah. I mean live action.
Yep.
So of the 8, is this the weakest, do you think?
I mean, Spider-Man or the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suffers from a lot of the same issues. But so I would probably put that one below this one, even though Andrew Garfield is my favorite Peter Parker.
Same. Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. Like that movie was disappointing. But that movie is also very overstuffed, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, I like them all for different reasons.
Each one. I love them all.
Yeah. But I would probably put that one as 7th, or this one rather as 7th, if I had to.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So on that note, we're going to get out of here, and we just want to say thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to connect with us, you can find us on X, Instagram, and Facebook. Email us at readingbetweenreels@gmail.com, or use the SpeakPipe app on our website. If you enjoyed the show, please like, follow, or subscribe, and review us on iTunes or Spotify. And our next episode will be a review of our final film in the Marvel Before the MCU series. Next time, we're doing Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. Send us an email or voicemail about your favorite moments from Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, and we'll share it on the next episode.